Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Steven GetMoneyMyrick here, and this week we're going to be talking about the new Pioneer format as well as the bans and restricted announcement Wizards of the Coast made yesterday, Monday, October 21st. So today's Tuesday. I want to get my thoughts out there as soon as I could on how I think some of these changes are going to affect the future of Magic the Gathering, how it's going to affect Arena, how it's going to affect card prices. So first, I'm going to get to the banned and restricted announcement. This was something I was pretty excited for, and I thought I'd be spending a lot of time talking about. But actually, the announcement of Pioneer is something that is way more exciting, I think, to me at least, and probably a lot of people. But we're going to run through the banned and restricted stuff first. So the first thing I wanted to mention was that Arkham's Astrolabe got banned in Pauper. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I don't play Pauper. My understanding was that it made the mana bases in Pauper too powerful. You were basically required to play Arkham's Astrolabe because it was silly not to, and it just cut down on deck diversity. So I don't follow Pauper. I know the professor at Tolarian Community College was pretty excited about being banned. I know some people wanted to see Ephemerated banned. Again, don't know much about Pauper, so I'm not going to give my thoughts, but it sounds like it's a good change. With regard to Standard, there's a change that everyone was anticipating, and that's the Field of the Dead got banned. Wizards of the Coast said that Field of the Dead decks represent 42% of the field at Mythic Championship 5, and that the deck created undesirable play patterns, so they've banned it. They say in this case, they wanted to be clear that the outcome of Mythic Championship 5 had no effect on the ban and restriction decision. They said they had already decided they were going to make that change. And what's kind of interesting is that they made a quote at the end saying, "Finally, we're aware of a few community concerns regarding the standard environment, including the early acceleration into Planeswalkers, which is Oko and Nissa, can be frustrating, and that the color green, again, Oko and Nissa, is strong across a variety of standard archetypes. We'll continue to monitor the health of the environment, but feel it's important to allow the metagame to adjust to the absent Field of the Dead before further evaluation. As a philosophy, we prefer that players' deck building and metagaming choices dive into the evolution of the environment whenever possible rather than ban and restrict intervention." I get where they're coming from, but there was a pretty strong push for Oko to get banned along with this announcement, and there was a lot of debate about whether Wizards of the Coast would go that route. It is their flagship Planeswalker on Throne of Eldraine. They probably designed it to be pretty heavily pushed so that they can sell packs and, get people excited about Magic the Gathering. So they probably have very little interest in banning Oko. The problem is the card is just so miserable to play against because his loyalty is super high, and also because he can just turn not anything, but most things into a 3/3 elk. So you're not incentivized to play large creatures. You're incentivized to either go really low or way over the top. So Oko not being banned, that's caused a big spike in the price of the card. I bet this continues. I've seen Oko being played in Vintage now. It's being played in Modern, Legacy. So just an extremely powerful card. Could hit, $60, $70 if nothing's done about it. So they're where green is strong. I mean, Gruul Aggro actually won the Mythic Championship 5, so that's another green deck. I don't really know what they're going to do about it other than hopefully push other colors, especially white, in the future. So Field of the Dead being banned, I'm excited about from a viewing standpoint, but I actually had just built that deck. I had been holding onto my wild cards pretty much since Arena came out because I mostly just draft. And then I built Field of the Dead, and then they made that announcement that they're probably going to ban it. And then they did. So I'll have to find another deck. Luckily, the Teferi still carry over. And honestly, it just feels like if you're not playing Oko right now, you're making a mistake. There might be some Fires of Inventions. It might be some aggro decks, but aggro really struggles against Oko and did okay against Field of the Dead. So Control could come back. Doom Foretold, making them sacrifice their Oko. That could be pretty powerful. But we'll see where Standard goes from here. I think there's another Mythic Championship in Richmond in about a month. So we'll see what happens with that. But now to the fun stuff, which is discussing Pioneer. So Pioneer is a new format the Wizards announced. And I know it feels like they're announcing a lot of new formats since they just pretty much released Historic on Arena. And we'll cover how this all plays together with that in a few. but they just announced this Pioneer format, and it's going to take place from Return to Ravnica onwards. And the funny thing, for me at least, is Return to Ravnica is when I got back into Magic. And unfortunately, I still pretty much only played Limited whenever I played Magic, so it's not like I have a ton of standard staples lying around where I'm all set for this Pioneer format already. But it's going to be cards from Return to Ravnica onwards. It's important to note they didn't include M13, which has some pretty nice cards in it. And they also did not include anything from Innistrad block, which had Snapcaster, Liliana, some very powerful creatures. The other thing about Pioneer is currently all cards are legal from Return to Ravnica on, except for the 5 fetch lands from Karns of Tarkir. Their thought process here is they want to make the format, I assume their thought process is that they want to make the format as interesting and have as much deck diversity and really give brewers a chance to make some powerful decks. The problem with this, though, is we're going to lead to a situation, and they have said that they are going to be heavily banning and controlling this format so that it performs the way they want it to. So my first question and first thought is, okay, people are going to be going out and making Pioneer decks, and looking for very strong interactions that might very quickly get banned. And that's going to feel very bad. So I'm worried that people are not going to really adopt this format right away. One of the good things about Pioneer, though, and why I think it will get some catch on, is because there are a lot of Grand Prix next year, and I believe there's even a Pro Tour next year that will be the Pioneer format. So there's going to be money on the line for Pioneer. That's different than Historic and Brawl, which have, no financial reason you should be interested in those formats. Pioneer will get played by pros. Pros will be trying to break it. So there will be people playing it. Will it replace Modern? I think the bigger question is, will Pioneer attract players that are currently not playing Modern that now want to play an Eternal format? Is the player base for Modern essentially going to be getting bigger? I don't know the answer to this. It's going to be very interesting to find out, because one of the appeals right now of Pioneer is how much cheaper it is than Modern, because it doesn't have fetch lands. You don't have to buy $120 Scalding Tarns, right? You don't have to buy $60, $70 Misty Rainforest. So people are, excited about the fact that it's cheaper. Well, if no new players come in, let's take the extreme example, no new players come in for Pioneer, and also Modern dies, you will see a drastic increase in Pioneer cards that are going to become more expensive, and you'll actually probably see some Modern cards that are very powerful currently in Modern but not seeing play in Pioneer. You will see those prices go down. One of the examples I was thinking about, now that's the extreme example, right? The reality is maybe now there's more people that feel like they can afford an Eternal format, which I'm all for, and maybe the Modern pool of players stays exactly the same and doesn't diminish at all. I don't think that extreme situation is what's going to happen. I do think some players of Modern, though, are going to switch to Pioneer. I think it's going to be very interesting how local game stores handle this situation. Do they fire events for both of them? Do they get a high turnout for both, or now do they get half the player base turning out? These are a lot of concerns, and I know Wizards is going to want to be pushing this format based on the amount of support they have in the first year. So are we going to see Modern become the new Legacy, where it's not really being supported by Wizards anymore? It's only people that love the format that are keeping it alive. The problem with that is Legacy is an amazing, amazing format, and Modern's got some great gameplay too. But at some point it becomes, why am I playing Modern? I could play Pioneer if I wanted something a little cheaper, or I could be playing Legacy, which has the better gameplay in my opinion right now. There are going to be some cards which are seeing play in Modern right now that may not see play in Pioneer. So one of those cards I want to talk about was cards like Tireless Tracker and Fatal Push. I'm not saying that these cards won't see play in Pioneer, but these are cards that are much stronger with fetch lands because they can trigger those cards and make them more powerful. So it'll be very interesting to see if these cards see the same amount of play in Pioneer, or if it goes a whole different direction because fetch lands are not available. That ties into Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise, which both care about Delve. when you don't have fetch lands in your graveyard, it's hard to get that delve count out. And that's one of the first two cards people are really pointing the finger at of why are Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise not specifically banned. And so I think you could make an argument, though, that without those fetch lands, these cards may not be as complete. They're definitely not as broken. Are they still too broken? Possibly. Are you going to lead to situations where everyone is playing Dig Through Time and now they're going to have to come out and ban Dig Through Time? Because right now there's certain cards that are spiking hard in anticipation of this format. Cards like Saheeli Ray, Smuggler's Copter, Aetherworks Marvel, Dig Through Time. Thoughtseize is going up just a little bit. Jace Vryn's Prodigy. I needed a Jace Vryn's Prodigy for my cube as well as a Teferi Hero Dominaria, and I just immediately bought those because I was worried about the demand going up in these cards and the prices going up. And those concerns are probably valid unless, Wizards comes out and bans those cards, and then the price is going to go back down. Saheeli Ray went from being a, $2-3 card to now a $15 card. Like, is that combo with Feldar Guardian going to immediately get banned? And by immediately, I mean, end of 2019. Some people are going to go out and buy and make these decks. And so there's going to be this fear of going out and making a Pioneer deck because you never know, is it about to get the axe? On Magic Online, I think for the most part, since prices are so much cheaper on there, this isn't a giant concern. But prices are also going to go up with Pioneer the more it sees play. But in paper, it's going to be pretty dang rough if you build a deck and then they ban it, in the next month. So I like the idea of this format, but I'm worried about the financial aspects of it and Wizards going through and banning. Right now, there's only 3 cards that are currently banned in Modern that are legal in Pioneer, and they're Deathrite Shaman, Dig Through Time, and Treasure Cruise. And all 3 of these cards are extremely powerful, but without fetch lands, they are much less powerful. Deathrite Shaman, other than if you have a Fabled Passage or an Evolving Wilds, it is not a mana dork as well, along with its other abilities, and it's going to be a lot harder to trigger. Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise are going to be harder to get that delve count up. Are they going to be broken? And I think the answer right now is yes. I think we're going to end up banning Dig Through Time, but only time will tell. As far as some decks that I got my eye on, Saheeli Ray with Feldar Guardian is an infinite combo similar to how Splinter Twin works, where you can just keep bouncing it in and make a lot of Feldar Guardians and win the game. That was a degenerate standard deck. And when I say degenerate, I want to be clear that I didn't play standard, during Kaladesh. I didn't play standard. I kind of quit around cons. So I don't necessarily know how degenerate these decks were, but my understanding from hearing other people talk about it is there's a big concern that Pioneer is just going to turn into this format where they take all the decks that were extremely powerful in standard and just repeat that, and they're not fun gameplay experiences. Are we just going to have turn 3, turn 4 combo wins all the time? And if so, is Wizards going to be banning cards and make people feel bad about the decks they have? But Saheeli Ray with Feldar Guardian is one deck I've got my eye on. Aetherworks Marvel with Emrakul, the Promise End. The ability to create a bunch of energy and then get your Emrakul on the field. This was another standard deck that had to get banned. And then also I think just some control deck with Jace Vryn's Prodigy. People like to call him Little Jace. Along with Search for Azcanta and Teferi Hero Dominaria. Those are decks I've got my eye on, an Esper control or blue-white control deck. And then finally, I think Thoughtseize is probably the best fair thing you can probably be doing in Pioneer. So some deck with Thoughtseize, Collective Brutality, Fatal Pushes, Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophies, something along black-green, maybe Scavenging Ooze, although, again, Ooze is not as good without lands in the graveyard and stuff. It's hard to see what the future holds for Pioneer. I'm definitely excited about it. I'm excited to watch it. I don't know if I'm excited to play it. And one of the reasons I'm not as excited to play it is it's only available online on Magic the Gathering Online. They have Wizards, it says right now they currently have no plans. They didn't just not make a comment. They said they actually have no plans of putting Pioneer into Arena. When you consider how poorly Historic is being supported on Arena, and when you consider that Pioneer is the format where the money's going to be, I think this pretty much means Historic Wizards has no intentions of making historic an interesting format, and I don't think they really have any intentions of making Arena anything other than a place to play standard constructed decks. I mean, even in limited formats and drafts, it's been terrible drafting Throne of Eldraine. I'm not going to say terrible, but it's been pretty rough drafting Throne of Eldraine because of the bots and because of how exploitable they are. Arena is just not the format for anything other than standard playable decks right now. It's a lot more casual. And actually I was already considering downloading Magic the Gathering Online because I want to do some cube drafts and also play some Throne of Eldraine drafts against people. And I think the introduction of Pioneer actually is going to push me even more towards possibly downloading Magic the Gathering Online. I don't like MTGO. I don't like the interface. I don't like the bots and trading with real currency and how that all plays out. But, I think if you want to play anything other than standard constructed, it sort of feels like that's the place you have to go now. And Wizards is intentionally doing that at this point. So I'm excited for Pioneer. I'm excited to watch it. Like I said, I don't know when I'll get a chance to play it. I'll probably keep you guys posted as new decks come out, new strats come out. I've heard of Manguchi was talking about turn 3 Jeskai Ascendancy deck that wins on turn 3 with Dig Through Time. Wanted to get that information out there. If you're interested, I get no endorsements for this. Channel Fireball has an article where they talk about 12 decks that they have their eyes on. One of them is a Smuggler's Copter deck. A lot of them are some of the interactions I've been discussing. And also, Professor from Tellurian Community College also has a video that just came out today, the 22nd, where he talks about Pioneer and his thoughts. And a lot of the stuff he mentions is similar to what I've mentioned. But yeah, I just wanted to get this video out there, get my general thoughts out there. Let me know if you guys are excited for it. Let me know if you think I'm wrong about Tireless Tracker, because it's one of those things. It's a very good card. It's definitely worse without fetch lands. So is it going to see play in Pioneer, or is Pioneer going to be all combo decks, what are the power levels of these cards without fetch lands? So yeah, tell me how wrong I am. And hopefully, let me know if you're excited for Pioneer or not. And I will talk to you all later.